In the lush hills of St. Elizabeth, where the soil wore the color of rust and the morning sun always kissed the dew with kindness, lived a young farmer named Micah. With hands hardened by years of plowing and planting, Micah was no stranger to hard work. But beyond the fields and furrows, he carried a heart tender and loyal, especially to one person, Alana. They had grown up side by side, catching tadpoles in the river, racing barefoot through cane fields, and dreaming about the future under the mango tree that sat on the border of their lands. Alana had always been the brighter one, quick with numbers and curious about everything beyond the borders of their humble community. Micah knew from early on that she was meant for more than the village could offer. And when Alana was accepted to a prestigious university in Kingston, the whole district buzzed with pride. But celebration quickly turned to concern. Her parents, already burdened by years of financial struggle, simply couldn't afford the tuition. That's when Micah stepped in. Without saying much, he sold two of his best cows, took on more land to till, and quietly started funding her education. Every month, without fail, he traveled miles with sacks of yam, dasheen, and sweet potato, and tucked away inside each bag was a small envelope, enough to help her get by. Alana was grateful, deeply so. At first, every phone call was filled with warmth and excitement. She called him Mikey, like she always had. She told him about her classes, her dreams of becoming an environmental scientist, and how she hoped to come back and make a difference. But slowly, the tone began to change. Micah started noticing it in her voice, the polite but distant thank yous, the shorter calls, the way she no longer laughed at his old jokes. Then the visit started getting awkward. She really had time anymore. Always studying, always busy. The sparkle in her eyes when she saw him had dimmed. One Saturday, after a long week of harvesting, Micah showed up at her boarding house unannounced with a basket of fresh produce. He was met with a surprise. Alana was hosting a small gathering with classmates. Music played softly in the background, and laughter danced through the room. She looked startled when she saw him. Micah, she exclaimed, forcing a smile. You should have called. I wanted to surprise you, he said, holding out the basket like an offering. A tall young man in a button down shirt stepped out from the kitchen. You must be Alana's cousin, he asked, extending a hand. Before Micah could answer, Alana cut in. Yes, he's like family from back home. The words stung more than a scorpion's bite. Micah stayed for only 10 minutes before making his way back to his pickup. That night, The moon seemed unusually cruel. Weeks passed, fewer calls, shorter texts. One day, a message came that shook the ground beneath him. Micah, I need to be honest. I've changed. I've grown. I'm not the same girl who left the village. I appreciate everything you have done, but I don't think we're meant to be. Not in the way you hoped. He didn't respond. He didn't have to. Micah stopped visiting, stopped sending groceries, stopped hoping. Instead, he poured everything back into the land. The crops flourished like never before. Word got around about his high quality produce, and soon he was supplying restaurants in Mandeville and Montego Bay. Still, there was a void, a tender, aching silence between the rows of cabbage and callaloo. 3 years later, a farm to table expo at the local parish council hall, his first ever, he had earned the nickname the young savior of soil, thanks to his sustainable techniques and charity work with other struggling farmers. As he spoke to the crowd about turning hardship into harvest, he noticed a familiar figure standing at the back, Alana, dressed in a modest blouse and jeans, a backpack slung over her shoulder, and eyes that no longer carried the shine of ambition, but something heavier. After the talk, she approached. Micah, she said, her voice a soft quiver. I came back. I couldn't find work in Kingston. Things didn't go as planned. Micah studied her for a moment, searching, not in her face, but in himself. I'm sorry, she continued. I was blind to what truly mattered. He gave a nod. Sometimes you have to lose a harvest to understand the soil better. A long silence passed between them. Then she asked, is there room for me here to learn, to start again? Michael looked out at the fields beyond the window, the same land that had taught him about patience, pain, and purpose. There's always room, he said, but it's not charity this time. You'll have to work. Alana smiled through the tears. That's all I want. And so, under the same mango tree where they once dreamed as children, they began again, not as lovers bound by promises, but as two hearts rebuilt by truth. Because sometimes love isn't just about who stays, but about who's willing to return, not expecting to be rescued, but to grow.